Welcome to another episode of The Polished Professional. I'm your host, Teresa. So excited because I have my good friend, Cyndi Coakley, here with me today. And although she is my good friend and Mary Kay, we're going to talk today about health and healthy eating and why she's my go-to when I have questions on health. So Cyndi, thank you and welcome. We were just chatting before we actually came live on how long did we know each other? And pretty much all of our Mary Kay lives, which is like 25 years, 25 years, we have known of each other.
Yes.
But I remember this like it was yesterday. It was that day in California when my husband and I were in leadership, and I looked at you and I'm like, I need to know this woman. And here we are, friends.
Such great friends. Yes. I'm so grateful. We started those coffee dates. They've evolved into so much more.
And look what it has blossomed into. So grateful for you. And among the many things I'm grateful for you for, really our health journeys. You know, we're both around the same age, so we experience a lot of the same things, so we can commiserate together. Mm-hmm. But you're my go-to when I want to know if something's healthy or some healthy snacks, and what should I stock and what should I have in my pantry and what supplements should I be taking. And you've been such a valuable resource for me that I thought it would be very helpful for my friends to hear from you. And, I love it because you're just, I mean this in the most loving way. You're just an average everyday person. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so you've researched, you've figured these things out. And I always tell you this all the time. Don't keep it to yourself. You need to share this stuff because you've done such great research. So why don't you tell us what got you into being a health nut, lovingly, and then we'll talk from there. So what got you really into really being healthy?
Kind of on this journey. And I think, Teresa, we really do learn from each other. I love that we can bounce ideas off of that. But I know how much fueling my body with the right food has made a difference for me. So I love it when someone says, I will pick your brain on these things, or I want to know what you know because you've been on this journey maybe longer and things like that. And for me, shifting what I was eating and looking at fueling my body instead of just looking at it as the food I ate, really started more than 25 years ago. And it's because I had actually gotten sick and I had a form of rheumatoid arthritis, and that swelling just kind of overtook my body for a season of life. And one of the things that I found that helped to get rid of that inflammation was the foods that I was eating. I worked with a nutritionist. I dug in. I learned so much because I wanted to get healthy enough really to have my family. And I was too sick at that point. So I had a lot of motivation to kind of figure this out. And so I've been on pieces of that journey really for that long.
Awesome. That is awesome. I love how you said, and we've talked about this before, food is medicine. And I've never really realized that until I started to have conversations with you. Sometimes we go immediately to medicine, but maybe it's the food that we should head towards. Yeah. So I'm going to just ask you some questions, that I have asked you in the past. But so let's start with supplements, because you've just definitely done your research on supplements. Mm-hmm. So can you share with the audience what supplements you take and maybe why some of the supplements you take?
Sure. And I think, again, it's finding out what our bodies need most, you know what I mean? And I think when looking at supplements, I look for not a lot of junk in the ingredient list, and being able to keep that list as clean as possible. So being able to find some of those particular brands and things, but a multivitamin is key. But if it can be whole food based, all supplements are not created equal by any means. And so that's one of the things I think people are like, oh, I'm just going to pick up this multivitamin at the drugstore. But our bodies don't
great point.
Yeah. Our bodies
so how do you find a whole food based how do you know it's that?
Um, some of them will say it. There are some brands that have it. Other ones, I think the one I'm on right now isn't necessarily, it doesn't say whole food based, but it is the sources of the ingredients, and it's sitting here. So let me grab part of it and put my ingredients on and things. But it has the vitamins listed, and then it has a couple of other ingredients, but there's not a long list of inactive ingredients. Like that's one of the core things that 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 active inactive ingredient list is very short. That's one of the keys to getting a more whole food based supplement, but this one's
Oh,
not
that's good to
particularly
know.
labeled
Okay.
that way. But yeah, and limiting fillers and things like that can make a difference.
So how many supplements do you take in a day?
Um, it varies on the season. Right now through winter, I'm taking something called olive leaf extract, which is olive leaf is just a great immune booster and a little bit of a detox for our system. I also take something that I will be honest tastes like furniture tarnish, but it's called black seed oil. But some of these things are founded in Eastern medicine, like ancient medicine, is where some of these things are founded to support our bodies and our systems. And again, like I said, you said, I'm not an expert. This is just what I've learned working with holistic nutritionists, functional doctors, like certain things. And my girlfriend says, think of our body as a bucket, right? There's only so much that bucket can hold. And so if we aren't putting good things into the bucket, it gets overloaded with too much junk. And then it can't process even some of the good things that we're putting in. And so looking for, again, just more pure, simple of some of those supplements. And I take a vitamin D because I need it. My D is low, but I think those are my main ones. Probiotic is another big one. And right now I'm transitioning because I don't love the one I have. So, and that can change a lot for your body. But a probiotic is really good for your just overall gut health.
Awesome. Yes.
That's a
Thank
whole
you.
nother subject for a whole
Yeah.
nother day. But there's a whole little organism in our gut itself that is so finely tuned.
Yes. So I'm finding out that it has a lot to do with everything in your body, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does.
Okay. So you're my go-to healthy recipe snack ideas. So one of the things that I struggle with is when you go grocery shopping, like, are there certain staples that you keep in your home um, that you should have? And like reading ingredients, like right now, I'm just to the point where if there's a ton of ingredients, I'm not sure I want it. But right. So, what are some basic things to help someone who maybe is not used to reading labels at all to
Yeah.
start?
And I remember when I first did this, the labels 25 years ago looked very different than they do now. But I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, this is a lot of information. So the nutritionist broke it down for me, and she said, shop kind of like our grandmothers used to shop around the perimeter of the grocery store, right? For some of our grandparents growing up, they did not walk into a grocery store with this many choices. They went to a corner store and it just didn't have nearly the choices we have today. It had a produce section, it had a dairy section, might have had the meat, and it had the meat section, maybe a deli section and things. But so shop that perimeter of the grocery store first, because that's where you're going to find the most like whole foods, and some that's become a big thing, and a lot of people know what it is. But think about it: a whole food or a one ingredient food is the best thing that we can give our bodies because it's going to be a fruit, a vegetable, a meat. Like it's going to be simple. So that's kind of, I think, the first place to start. Is that helpful?
Yes, definitely. The whole foods. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes people are like, well, what's whole foods? Well, the less ingredients, the better. So, and again, I don't know by looking at. I mean, I've done Whole 30. I've done some of that stuff in seasons. I don't remember all of those pieces because I've learned to modify what works for me. But an example is peanut butter. So the peanut butter that we get, literally the ingredients on here are dry roasted organic peanuts and sea salt. There's no hydrogenated oils. There's no added sugar. But if you pick up some of the national brands, those are things that you'll find. So making that kind of simple switch, you just got rid of palm oils, hydrogenated oils. Those oils are inflammatory to our body. So getting them out of some of the processed foods is going to be a great first win.
Yes, I'm so glad you brought up about the seed oils because I'm really like I try and take those definitely out. You know, sometimes they sneak in there. Like I cannot believe how many foods have seed oils in them.
Hmm. Yeah,
Shock.
a lot. I
Yeah.
mean, here, this, we think the trail mix, like, yes, it's got M&Ms in it. We think like, okay, this is going to be pretty good. You should actually mix up your own because all of these peanuts are in a peanut oil and a processed oil or canola oil. They all have some kind of processed oil on them. Not all of them are, horrible, but it's still processed. Go get like regular, just roasted almonds, raw almonds, whatever. Make your own mixes. It is going to be a lot healthier.
Yeah, so that's another thing that you've taught me is because I still eat protein bars, but if you look at the protein bars, there is seed oils in them. So I'm transitioning off that and making your own. So I remember you gave me a great recipe that I've shared with, I call them protein balls. I probably should have a different name, but it was just like regular ingredients that you put
Mhm.
in and they're delicious and it's not hard to make. I used
Heck
to
yeah.
think it was so hard to make these things, but you have taught me that it's really not difficult at all.
Right.
And you've taught me to batch make them, so I make a big batch, I freeze some and I have some.
Yeah.
So is there any other little tips that you could share? Because I do think like it when you first start the health journey, you're just like, get rid of this and get rid of that. And what should I look for? Like I know for me, I've really looked at the added sugars and things because
Hmm.
again, sugars are hidden in everything. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Yeah. Spaghetti sauce, ketchup. Like, read your ketchup. You'll be shocked at the ingredients on your ketchup. We get the organic ketchup from Aldi, like, because it's ingredients I can read. But like
Yeah.
your ketchup it's usually junk, and things. So yeah, sugar is in spaghetti sauce and all of those things. So kind of a tip with your sugar, and I'm going to grab. Oh, she got rid of the box. Let me see if I can read one. But again, as much as possible, simply understanding that you can read the ingredients and that you know what they are and they don't sound like chemicals or they're not some of the super like processed oils and things like that. So I can read every single ingredient on this Laura Bar is a good brand to have and things. And there I can read all of the names and the oil that's in it is coconut oil, which is much less processed for us. But the other thing that's beneficial to be able to understand how your body's going to process the food and how you're going to feel maybe after eating it. That this made a big difference for me when I learned it, so I'll pass it along. Is looking at your net like glycemic load, glycemic index of something. So if you take the total carbohydrates minus the fiber, that's going to tell you what that glycemic load will be. Because sometimes we think, oh, I'm going to reach for a snack and make it a bar or something like that. But if it's got too much carbs and too much sugar, we still can spike and crash from that. And that was eye opening to me when I had a doctor look at what I was eating and she said, take these out and I see if we're going to get rid of some of those crashes. And it
Yeah.
it has.
Yeah.
So I forget the I can't think of her last name, but she's a book I think called
Oh,
Body
yeah, I
Love.
know who you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't think of her last name, but she taught me that you take the carbohydrates minus the fiber. So in this case, 13 minus 3 grams of fiber would be a net of 10. And you want to look for things ideally under 15. The best is under 12. That's less of a spike for like your blood sugars and things like that. So simple little things when we read the ingredients that
Yeah.
can make a difference. And even like your cottage cheese, like I'm so fussy about cottage cheese now because you can literally go get one that's like cream, whey, salt, something, 4 ingredients. But if you're not paying attention, you pick them up, they have 8 or 10
Yeah.
ingredients,
Yeah.
and go simple as much as you can. And that keeps it pretty easy.
Yeah, it really infuriates me what they hide in food. Like I had no idea. I was the opposite of what I am now, where I'm like, I believed in the whole food industry. Of course, they wouldn't be putting bad things in. And now
Yeah.
I'm like so skeptical of everything. And when I
Yeah.
read labels, I'm like, oh, it says high protein, but there's like a ton of sugar in it,
Yeah.
or the
Yeah.
seed oils. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Last but not least, shopping. So can you get a lot of this stuff at a regular grocery store or where do you shop?
Yeah, most of it you can find. Again, go around that perimeter for a big portion of it. But most stores now are carrying more of some of these like healthier brands and things like that. I'm a big discount grocery person, so I love Aldi, and they have some really great like swaps for you there and things. And I will also try things at the discount grocery places, but um, you don't have to go to a Whole Foods to have it. Wegmans has a great, variety and things like that, but you can find much of what you need in your local store.
Oh, that's so good to know. Because again, too, I thought you'd have to shop specialty places, but that's not the case. Yeah.
Certain things you're going to find more variety and more choices at special places, but no, you can find at least some of the basics to transition in a simple place.
Love it. Love it. Is there anything that I missed asking you?
I don't think so. I think and I think the only other thing I would say is look at food as fuel. We already talked about that. And look at it like, what can I eat? Don't think about what you're getting rid of, but what can I eat? And that food starts to taste like just even better and things like that. And I do like an 80-20 rule. Like, I'm not perfect. Do I reach my hand into this trail mix sometimes? Absolutely. Is it horrible? No. Is it great? No. But do that 80-20 rule. Like, try to do the best you can most of the time so that bucket doesn't get too overloaded, and it just allows us to feel a little bit better and stay a little bit healthier.
Yeah. What a great way to end. Yeah. Like the 80-20. Like we don't have to be perfect, but
Yeah.
just be good most of the time, right?
Yeah, and start small. Like, if you're somewhere, start small, make one change that would be good, and then make a next, and
Yes,
and things like that.
completely agree. So for me, it was like I really started looking at the sugars. Once I got that
Yeah.
down, and then I started to look at the seed oil. So, and you've been helping me get better and better as I
Yeah.
grocery shop. So,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Cyndi, for just being a resource for us. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to comment below, and either Cyndi or I might tag Cyndi to answer the question. She's become my go-to health friend.
Well, and I'm always
So
learning too. And I still today I work with a holistic nutritionist trying to guide through some of the things and what my body needs just to work the best it can.
yeah, and I think that what you said, think of food as fuel is just a great way to end this conversation. Like I never thought of it that way, and now that my thinking is changing, so I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Thank you,
Thanks
thank you
for
so
having me.
much. All right, talk to you later. Thanks, everybody.